Welcome back, everybody, to the Recruiting Workshop for Women livecast training event. My name is Sonia Stringer. We're broadcasting to you live from a studio in San Diego, California, with our amazing studio audience. Say hello, everybody. You've been troopers today. You've been putting in time. It's been fantastic. We still have a few sessions to go, but we are definitely getting into some of the best content of the day. So thank you also, watching at home, for joining us. And this is session number 6. The title of this is The Bigger Vision: How Women in Network Marketing and Direct Sales Are Using Their Influence to Change the World. And I think how women in network marketing and direct sales are using their influence to change the world. And I think we would all agree that we are all women whose lives are transforming because we have a business. And I know for all of you in the studio here, all of you watching at home, no doubt you've already experienced some personal transformation as a result of building your business. I'm sure your lives are starting to change. We certainly have more freedom and more options. That only continues to grow as our businesses grow. And there's a very exciting opportunity that we have to support women in the world to also transform their lives through business. So we have all been part of a movement that's been growing this past year behind the moniker Women United for Change, what we're going to speak about in just a moment. But I thought first we will play a very short video that explains what we're up to, and then we'll come back and I'll introduce you to my amazing panel of guests, and we'll share a little bit more detail. So if we can roll that video, we'll watch that first.
There's a powerful shift happening in the world today, and it's being led by women. Today, women in leading nations are truly empowered. We hold more positions of influence and have more freedom and economic power than ever before. Some of this has happened because of building our own businesses. So, why is this important? Studies show that women use money differently. We invest in our families and in education for our children, and in social programs and causes that improve the lives of others. Bottom line, when women have economic power, everyone benefits. Even though women in the West are enjoying more freedom than ever before, that is not the case for women in developing nations of the world. For these women, their roles haven't changed for thousands of years. They're being denied opportunities to learn and to grow. They're being subjected to sexual violence at unbelievably young ages and horrifically high rates. And every day, thousands of women are dying from the simple act of becoming a mother. These startling facts are horrific, but it's not really our problem, is it? Moral issues aside, fighting for women's rights is the most important challenge and opportunity of our time. Did you know that the countries where women's rights are the most limited are also the countries that suffer from extreme political instability and civil war, which have the highest rates of terrorism and are the most ravaged by poverty and famine? As long as half of us are struggling to survive, collectively, we can never thrive. The world is waking up to a powerful truth. Women and girls aren't the problem. They are the solution. Experts worldwide agree that empowering women is the key to global peace and prosperity. There is a powerful movement happening called Women United for Change. And it's being led by women in network marketing and direct sales. Women whose lives have been transformed by building their own businesses and who want to pay it forward. These passionate women are teaming up with Project Concern International, a renowned nonprofit organization to help women in developing nations become empowered too. Through PCI's Women Empowered program, women in need now have the chance to break free and create an exciting new future for themselves and their families. PCI's comprehensive program provides a woman with up to 18 months of in-depth training, helps her develop more confidence and leadership skills, supports her to start and grow a micro business, which gives her income to feed and educate her children. She can now invest in other programs that improve her community and have a stronger voice in political and social issues that transform her country from the inside out, and ultimately help create a greater level of peace and cooperation around the world. In just a few short years, this powerful program has helped nearly 250,000 women. But this is just the beginning, and there's so much more to do. Women United for Change is leading the way and helping to shift the world in which we live. We are women who've united to empower our fellow sisters, mothers, daughters, and friends. We are women who recognize we have the opportunity to change everything. And we invite you to join us. By lending your voice and financial support, you can be part of the most important shift in history and ignite a global movement that is changing everything for the better. Imagine a world where there's enough for everyone, where people collaborate instead of compete, and world peace isn't a dream, but a reality. It is possible, and together we can make a massive difference. We can change the world. One woman, one family, one community at a time. We are Women United for Change.
It's worthy of some applause. Huh? I agree. Well, not to belabor the point, but there are some important stats to pay attention to in that video. And, you know, as someone who grew up in North America with a lot of opportunity, I've always considered myself fairly well-read and fairly knowledgeable when it comes to world events. And I have to admit, a few years ago when I became more educated on the true plight of women worldwide, women in many developing countries and what they're dealing with every day, I was shocked to learn that 70% of the world's poor are women. Over 1 billion women live on less than $1 a day. 66 million girls are not educated in the world. Many of them stop school, you know, what would be second or third level education here in the United States, and their families just don't have money to send them to school. So their options from that point on are incredibly limited. The sex trafficking trade is more rampant than ever. There's over 3 million girls that are subjected to that worldwide, some of them as young as the age of 3. And just women that are dying of basic challenges due to maternal issues that come up. You know, there's one every 90 seconds that dies somewhere in the world because they just don't have basic medical care. So I know we're a little sheltered here in the Western world from what truly happens to women every single day in many of these developing countries. And the truth is, and many of the government agencies out there now and many of the nonprofit groups like we have here recognize that women are not the problem, they're the solution. There is this latent workforce that is lying dormant in all these developing nations that with a little support can become a powerhouse for those economies. And that really is the solution that many of these groups are looking at, is when you can take women who have very few options and give them an opportunity to start a small micro business. That changes not only her life, but her family's life. These women use money from these businesses to send their children to school. They break a cycle of poverty that has been haunting them for generations. They're investing that money in their communities and making a massive difference in these countries from the inside out. So several leading NGO groups now are focusing their efforts on empowering these women within these countries because they know that creates the most rapid and profound effect from the inside out within these organizations. And we had talked a little bit about this idea of the third billion. You may have heard some talk by leading economists over the last few years about the growing middle class that's servicing in India and China, and how that's truly affecting our world economy, because there will be 1 billion more people within the next 5 to 10 years who have enough money to participate in the world economy. This is the 3rd billion. There are 1 billion women who now have the opportunity to participate in our world economy in the next 5 to 10 years if they're given the tools. And economists are now measuring the impact of that, not only on those countries, but on the world at large. It's phenomenal. So this is more than just a social issue. This is a powerful economic issue that we're watching unfold before our eyes. And we don't even recognize it, but we're all participating in it. You know, we are all women whose lives are being transformed by having businesses. And we're seeing the effect of that in our own families, in our own communities, and our companies. But now we're getting to see this play out on the world stage at a much larger scale. So this was something that came to me, you know, a few years ago as I was just watching the miraculous transformation going on with women in network marketing and direct sales, and seeing a correlation between what was happening in these companies versus what could possibly happen within these countries. And as someone who's, you know, very blessed and fortunate to be connected to so many of you, I realized, wow, there is a really unique opportunity we have to perhaps be a catalyst for this in a bigger way. So it's something that I got into conversations around with many of the panelists here and other women that were not here today. And we started talking about the idea of formalizing this in some way and creating more of a movement. And thankfully, many of you caught the vision and got excited about this with me. So I'd like to pass the mic over to Margie to just share really quickly, because you were one of the first that really caught this vision. And if you could share just very quickly why this spoke to your heart and why you got involved, and then we'll have Lauren share too. Because you two were really the catalyst that helped me develop it further.
Well, thank you for that, and you played a significant role in that. Where it started for me is we were at an event together, and Sonia hosted a lunch, and as a part of that, she'd had this idea in the shower that morning to talk about a book that she'd recently read, and maybe it was even a documentary, but she mentioned the book Half the Sky, and the minute she said it and said, read it, I got chills. Like, I knew that was a book I had to read. I went home, ordered it, and read it. And it's very disturbing. I was unsettled for weeks, actually. And shortly afterwards, I was in a seminar where we were kind of revisiting our why, like our purpose. And I thought I knew what mine was. But in that moment, in that seminar, it kind of all came together. And the immensity of the problem was no longer what I was thinking about. I was thinking about how we, by uniting and linking arms, are such a powerful force that we really can make a difference by starting with, you know, just a few women. And it became like a mission for me. I knew that if with the rest of the years I could just move the needle a little bit, then my life would be well lived. So yeah, and what a joy that we've got something that can unify us. You know, we're all in different companies, we're in love with our products, we're in love with our companies and all of that stuff, and yet we can link arms in a purpose and a passion that is so worthy now, and across company lines make a huge difference in the world.
Well, and it's such a natural extension for what you already do. I mean, you've been empowering women through business for how many years now? I mean, decades.
27.
Yeah, she started when she was 6. She was very young. Yeah, but truly, I mean, that's just so much what you're about. All of you represent that in different ways. And so it just seems like such a natural next step that, wow, we might be able to put our talents and our networks and our influence behind something that could expand on that and make it even more profound. And Lauren, you were such a key piece because you introduced us to PCI. We were already thinking and brainstorming, trying to think how we could formalize this and do something that would really have some impact, and you were the one that brought us to PCI. So,
well, and I just want to say, we want to say thank you for taking this and bringing it to life, because it was the book, Half the Sky, that Sonia shared with Margie and I, and it shifted my thinking about empowering girls locally, young girls, to really expanding to a global mission. And so I was invited to what was similar to an in-home meeting at a girlfriend's home, but it wasn't an in-home meeting for business opportunity. It was an in-home meeting with PCI to share this Women Empowered initiative. And at that meeting, and just as I said earlier, I was looking for a residual income. I was looking to change my life, but I was really looking for purpose. And so I was looking for the right nonprofit. I was looking for the right place to put money and time. And a girlfriend of mine, actually my cousin, said, you don't want to start your own thing. You want to find somebody who's doing it and doing it really well and just piggyback off of them and help them. And so when I was at Nancy's house watching this video that PCI was sharing, I had goosebumps throughout my whole body. And I went, oh my gosh, this is it. And it was this Women Empowered initiative. And I just knew I'd found a home, and I was so relieved, and I was so thrilled about it. I don't even know how this came about, but about a week later, what she shared with me, with all of us right here, and I said, well, I was just at a meeting, and I what she shared with me, with all of us right here, and I said, well, I was just at a meeting, and I met these incredible people that, and I said I had goosebumps down my spine, and she looked at me and she grabbed my hand and she said, will you introduce me to them? And I said, of course. And so we went to the PCI office, Project Concern International, right here in San Diego, and we met with them, and she was just as impressed as I was. Yeah. And that's really how it came about. And I remember walking out of the meeting, and what did you say?
Do you think we can get Sonia?
Yeah, thanks.
Well, and you did. No, and it was such an easy sell because I had a chance to go to the head office, which is based here, Project Concern International. It was a happy accident. It just happened to be in San Diego, of course, and had a chance to meet these two lovely ladies, as well as many of the other people that are behind that organization. And I don't know a lot. I have been learning a lot about nonprofit. I didn't know a lot about nonprofit work or organizations, but came to realize that PCI, Project Concern International, is one of the most respected organizations around, one of the most influential on an international level. And when we got introduced to the program that they run, which is really centered around this Women Empowered program, we were just so blown away by what they can do with such a small investment, the ripple effect of that within countries. And it was just such a no-brainer for us to go, wow, I think there's something we could do here to bring this to greater awareness within our community and possibly get some support behind it. So if I would love to introduce, we have two new members of our panel you can see. Let me officially introduce to you Sarah Emerson, who is the director of the Women Empowered Initiative. Please give her a warm round. And with her is Andrea Waldron, who is the Vice President of Development for Women Empowered. Please welcome Andrea as well. And I wish we had way more time because there's so much about this program that is fascinating to learn. And if you'd like to learn more, we'll certainly get you more information. But I wanted to include you today just so you could share from a high-level perspective how the Women Empowered program works so that people can really appreciate the genius of what's going on with PCI and the work you're doing with women. Oh, yeah, we need, yeah, on mic. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, great. First, just want to say thank you. This has been a transformative relationship for PCI and for Women Empowered, just to partner with such a strong network of women that so much models or mirrors the way our Women Empowered groups work. It really has been transformative. And getting to connect with smart, engaging businesswomen has been phenomenal. So just want to say thank you. It's making a really big difference so far. So thank you.
You're welcome.
I have the privilege to work with Women Empowered groups all over the world on a daily basis. So currently we're actually working with more than 400,000 women on 12 different countries.
Yes.
And the program is pretty straightforward, but a little bit innovative, which is where I think we're making some real headway. We've realized that women need more than just access to financial services, which was a lot of what started with the Grameen Bank revolution. That was a good and important first step, but they needed more. They needed wealth, creation opportunities. We call it the wealth generation pathways, to be on a pathway to earning income sustainably and more over time. So that's where we're really focused on finding private sector partners in the countries we work with, and creating opportunities for the women to not only save their money and have a self-help group support mechanism, but then also to be able to hopefully go into their own business. Some women do it as group businesses, and some go out on their own and use a loan and social empowerment component. So similar to Women United for Change and the support we all offer each other, social empowerment component. So similar to Women United for Change and the support we all offer each other, as women in our community, we're able to actually help women in these communities come out of isolation and depression, which is very, very common for us to find, and really support each other through a self-help group model. So it's really a strategic integration. And this is what the economists are nowadays referring to as financial capability. So we started with financial education, then into financial literacy, but where we find the marriage of the social and economic empowerment is where they have the actual capability. So they
Right.
can start their business, they can
Right.
invest, they can take risks, but most of all, they understand that they can have a successful business.
Yes.
And that's really where we see the transformation. But I thought maybe Andrea could share a specific example of one
Sure.
of the private sector partners that we're currently
Sure.
working in.
Please, yeah.
So in Tanzania, we are partnering with an organization called Solar Sisters,
Yes.
which provides a direct marketing sales model. And it's kind of a threefold benefit when you look at it. So first, from Solar Sisters' perspective, they're able to expand their market presence into Tanzania by working with our women empowered groups. The women in the groups are able to create wealth pathways for themselves and for their children by direct selling products in their homes and in their communities. The products themselves are twofold. One are clean burning stoves, and the other are solar powered plates. And so this reduces indoor pollution, because what you find in Tanzania is a lot of the homes obviously don't have lights.
Yes.
So they're burning indoor kerosene lights, which causes indoor pollution. And then they don't have clean burning stove, which further adds to the pollution. So not only are we helping them improve the quality of their lives, but we're also helping them to find their voice and to earn an income as well,
Brilliant.
and provide a great value proposition to the Solar Sisters company.
Brilliant. I think we have some slides. Randy, can we bring this up? Yeah, there's a couple that'll explain this a bit more. And I just want to add a little bit more description too to their program. What is so unique about it, what we loved about it is PCI goes into areas that they already have some established relationship with other aid programs, and they offer the women in those areas the opportunity to take part in this particular program that we sponsor. And as such, they have the opportunity to come together in these communities and learn leadership skills, literacy skills, financial planning skills, to really be part of a group that starts to save money together. So these are self-funding groups. They're not relying on outside funding. They learn how to save money amongst themselves and basically create their own little loan fund. And over time, that grows to the point where they can then lend that money out to each of the members if they'd like to start a very small business of some kind. That could be as simple as buying a goat, and having enough milk to sell and making money from that, and then reinvesting back into the central loan that these women are sharing together. Or they might, as you said, have a group function where they are, as a group, starting some kind of income-producing opportunity. But that's what we just so loved about this model, is that it isn't reliant on outside funding. And for women to go through this program, it's up to an 18-month program, I believe. And to sponsor a gal to go through that entire 18 months of training costs $50. So for $50, a $50 investment will help that woman go through that program and develop the kind of leadership skills and literacy skills and financial skills where at the end of that she could have financial independence and the ability to generate income for herself and her family and truly change the trajectory of their life. So it was such a no-brainer when we looked at it. It's like, oh my goodness. And just to reiterate what Sarah was sharing there, that is what is truly unique about your program, is they're one of the few that aren't just sharing money with these groups and hoping that they'll find their way. They really take them through this very comprehensive learning process to the point where they have the ability to sustain that group and lead that group and continue to fund it. And over time, that group just continues to grow and the women continue to grow in business opportunities. And the Solar Sisters model I thought was just so brilliant. There's also one, is it with Unilever, I think, is another? Yeah, would you share a little bit about that as well? Yeah.
In Malawi, we're actually currently collaborating with Unilever, which we know makes a variety of products. But of utmost importance for us in Malawi, they're providing soap in the communities where, one of the most preventable diseases, but major causes of illness and death, especially for children aged under 5, is diarrhea. And basic hand washing, dramatically reduces that. So Unilever is helping to bring soap into the communities. But what we realized is that through a charity type program, there won't be sustainable access to soap. So very similar to a direct sales type model, training women in the proper techniques of how to wash your hands, as well as, that includes not diluting the soap so much that it's ineffective, which often is done. So really a partnership with Unilever and the communities to create sustainable presence, but again, leveraging the women empowered groups to be those entrepreneurs, to do that last mile distribution. So Unilever gets to expand their distribution network, but these women have sustainable income and bringing a really value-added service or product into their community.
Amazing. And can you share those stats again? I just really want to drive that home. How many women now, maybe Randy, we could bring up that slide again that shows the globe and all the different stats. Just how many women are currently involved in the program, the impact of it. I know it's grown substantially since we even got connected. So I just love to really drive that home. Here we go. Yeah, so membership is what, 442,000?
That's right, absolutely. And 97% of our members are women. And again, for reasons that you talked about, we do focus on women because they do make that transformative investment back into their families and their communities. So we see multi-generational changes there and health indicators. Education improves at the household level. And what's amazing is that we work in some of the poorest communities in the world, and these women, as you said, using their own assets, their own resources, have saved more than $3.6 million and have loaned out to each other. So as far as working capital around the world, they've actually made loans to themselves of more than $3 million.
When you're living on less than $1 a day, that's an enormous amount of money. That's crazy. And I know, again, there's so many changes that can happen because these women are going through these programs. You have something called the Lives Changed Indices, and I know we don't have to go through that. We don't have time to go through that in detail, but can you just give us some sense of the kinds of changes you've seen in those communities because women have taken part in the WE program?
Absolutely. It's such a pleasure to get to talk about the Lives Changed Indices because we really get to articulate the impact that the Women Unite for Change support really has on the women's lives.
Yes.
A lot of groups will focus on just the financial information, so the 3.6 million, the 3.1 million we just talked about. But what we've actually done is create a multi-dimensional tool really that looks at a variety of different areas, including gender equity, social capital, so things like what's the woman's sense of the influence and change she can make in her community? So that's on the social capital. How can she impact her community positively? In gender equity, we look at intra-household relationship dynamics. Are we seeing a decrease in gender-based violence? Are we seeing an increase in women having control over productive assets and income? So we're looking at all of these things, including some of the more basic things like progress out of poverty, very important, education levels at the household level, standard of living, what we might call a coping strategy index is an index that we've integrated, which is looking at if there's a shock or vulnerability, like with climate change, what's the family's ability to deal with that? So we've seen changes all around that. We're actually in the process of working on a second generation Lives Changed Indices where we want to do more to capture women's leadership as well as civic engagement. This is really, I think it's such an interesting thing to talk about measuring the change that happens within, but it's such a critical part of the program. I'll just share one very quick story.
Sure.
And this was with a woman. It was actually in our U.S. program. We work with recent Americans, refugees primarily. And this woman had never spoken in public. She'd never run a business. She, after graduating from the Women Empowered program, has created her own business. She got her food handling certificate with some of her peers in the group. They started a catering business. And she was asked to speak to a group. And she was telling the story of preparing, painting the picture of being in her small apartment. And she's in the hallway where they have the one mirror. And her little daughter is sitting on the ground looking up at her in the hallway. And she's practicing. And her daughter says, "Mom, I'm so proud of you." But it's like,
We're all criers. It's okay.
but for me, it's like, that's what you can't measure.
Yes.
So we do the best that we can with the Life Change Indices. But I think it's a matter of, that mom now has confidence, and now her daughter looks at her mom in a whole new way.
I think that's what spoke to us. We've all been so privy to this for months now, so we get updates from the field and we hear these stories, and I think that's what was so touching for so many of us is there are some very tangible results we see as people start businesses, and there's financial measurements around that, but to hear that women now are no longer getting abused in their homes because they're valued members of their home. They have more voice in what's going on in their homes. They're having a bigger voice in their communities. I remember a group in Guatemala, there's several of those women that now have run for local city council or are involved in government affairs and would have never done that. So, it's hard sometimes to measure the real impact of programs like this because I know you do a great job as an organization in terms of looking at the bottom line of the program, but there's all of these ancillary things that are going on that are truly empowering these women and that will continue to change those communities and those countries for years. If a woman is suddenly sending her child to be educated, and that's the first time, that child's going to go off and get a college degree, that just changes everything for the future of that family and that community. So thank you for that. I know we could talk for hours about this stuff, but it's just so nice to get, a real quick update on the program in general. And then we, for the first year, decided to focus a lot of the attention on a particular group in Guatemala, because you're in 14 countries around the world? 12 countries around the world. But Guatemala made sense for a lot of reasons. And so as we started working together to raise money, we've channeled a lot of that money towards a particular group, a couple of groups in Guatemala. And Pamela, our fearless leader, took her husband and her son to Guatemala and went and visited some of the sites that we've been sponsoring. So I'd love to have you share just a little bit about the story. I know you had a chance to take Caleb, and he was very impacted by that, as well as the two of you. And I know we have some slides, Randy, that we can show as we share a little bit about that.
Well, it was for Caleb's 11th birthday, actually,
Wow.
that we went, and they knew that it was going to be his birthday and made a big deal of that.
The people in Guatemala.
The people in
yeah.
Guatemala, these women doing the groups. So we flew into Guatemala City, then it's a 5-hour drive up this windy road to Huehuetenango, and then you stay there because that's where the hotel is, and then it's another couple of hours up into the mountains to go into these groups. And, you know, on our worst day, think of the worst day you've had, and I'm not taking losses aside of family members, et cetera, but just a really bad day in your business. That is the best day that any of these women could ever imagine in their life. What they have to work with. I was so impressed by their spirit and their dedication to their community and their families, and that drive to want something more, even though no one has ever shown them that there is something more. There's something in their spirit that says, I deserve more, and more importantly, my children deserve more. And just getting to the basic hygiene needs, that was one of the meetings. So the meetings are very impactful. And what happens, and we were blessed to be invited, because I can only imagine the feeling of these women to see me and my husband, who's 6'1", and our little blonde son, who's never known a bad day in his life, show up in their home. And they were very gracious hosts, and we tried our best to stay in the background, and they invite us into the foreground like we were the most important guest to ever arrive. They were wonderful and shared how they do their business, because I really didn't know how it worked. And these women, some of them, literacy has not been a part of their life. So using pictures to explain what happens in the meeting. So talking about hygiene, not having farm animals in the home. Not leaving garbage just where it happens to fall. Using water for drinking in a separate area for water for washing. All these different things, and then building their business. And there are women who started out with 0 literacy and can now keep books better than I can. You know, if I could bring them here, Revenue Canada would be happy with me, because they can actually balance stuff out. It was incredible to see, and so proud and just empowered. It was life-changing for me.
Wow.
Absolutely life-changing.
And you visited some groups, and I think there was demonstrations of the different ways they've been making money. Wasn't there candle making?
There
I
was
think, and
candle
lotions
making,
and-
which was great. They allowed Caleb to participate in that. And trust me, ladies, it is harder than it looks. Like, these gals, the candles we made are not sellable, the ones we were doing. Right? They just humored us. I think I bought them at the end because I felt so bad. And they make lotion. So things we take for granted. You know, there are beautiful representatives here of skincare companies, which are amazing. These women don't have it, and they're in the harshest conditions. So to just have a basic lotion that they created, or a soap. There was another one making a soap. And their generosity blew my mind, because they have literally nothing. And when I say nothing, I'm not just throwing that term out there because I'm trying to make a point and draw you in. I'm talking nothing. And so they take scraps like the little tabs that come off pop cans, and they turn those into purses and vests and belts. And they're spectacular. They're beautiful.
Wow.
Just the creativity with every little thing that they bring to the table.
Well, didn't
is
they bring
amazing.
you some? Can we
They
show the
sent
gifts?
us
Yeah.
a Christmas gift. Can you believe this? To my family this Christmas, it arrived in the mail. Thank you, Margie. It came in this beautiful handcrafted bag, and these placemats, which are just, I wish, you know, for those at home, if you could feel them, how soft and amazing. I can't even imagine how long it takes them to make. Everything is by hand. They don't have special machines. They don't have all this equipment. They're dirt floors in a village in the middle of nowhere. And they are getting this, and it takes a while for them to get the materials and then get it back, and then to raise the money to get them. And then they attach their story, and they sell these, and then they make the money, and they don't just pocket it and, you know, take trips to Tahiti. These gals are supporting their community and giving back. So, for example, if I made this, let's say, I make this and I sell it and I borrowed some money from my community, because banks, they don't get money from the banks there. It's a very macho culture, and I don't mean that to be derogatory to any of the men here, but the culture there in Guatemala specifically, women are not even allowed at some point into banks. So there's no banking for them. They can't go out and make a loan like you or I would. So they have to pool their money, and sometimes it's literally $1 a month. They're putting in 50 cents, and one woman is a treasurer. They keep track so that, for example, if I need $5 to buy some materials, some cotton that they spin and do things with, then I can borrow that money at and some of them have a small interest rate, some of them don't have an interest rate, it depends on the group. So that gives me an opportunity, because I may never on my own be able to save the money I would need to have something to make. I wouldn't be able to have the product.
Wow. That really is the genius of the WE program. It's strength in numbers, and it's allowing those women to collectively develop enough collateral, financial collateral, to be able to do those projects and make enough money to grow and leverage and continue growing.
It was more of a blessing to me than it was to them. And
Wow.
for all of you that ever have the opportunity to meet and experience that, the gift you receive is so much more than any dollar amount we could ever contribute would be.
Well, would you share briefly, too, about Casa Materna? We mentioned that in the first session, but I know that was...
I'm not a crier,
Yeah.
you know that, so you're pushing the envelope, Sonia.
Everyone's crying before the session's over.
Casa Materna is an incredibly special place, and I mentioned earlier that it is for women who have zero resources at probably the most delicate time in their life. And they're not women like you and I who have had health care in the past, who have access to decent food and vitamins and all of the things that we just take for granted when we're pregnant. These are 14-year-old, very young girls, 15-year-old girls who have no support because maybe they got pregnant out of wedlock, and there in that culture, not a good thing. And so they can be thrown out. Some of them are homeless, some of them are abused, and they have nowhere to turn to. There is no money to support them. There's no social infrastructure whatsoever. And Casa Materna runs on a shoestring budget of $100,000 a year for this hospital. And I was so impressed with what they are able to do with so little. So little. They don't have incubators for premature babies, but they learn how to do kangaroo care, skin-on-skin kangaroo care, and that has saved the lives of countless babies over the time that they have done that. Because these are not things that instinctively we know. Did you get a handbook when you had a baby or got pregnant? Of course not. You just don't, and you're 14 and you can't read? Imagine what that's like. You have a dirt floor and no one to support you. Where do you go? And this is like a shining light in a sea of darkness for these women. And I asked a few of them that were there. Again, try not to be a voyeur. I was trying to blend as much as I could blend while I was there. And I asked them what it meant to them to be there, because I truly just wanted to know. And each and every woman responded, the pregnant women that were there, with, I just feel peace. I feel like I can relax. I feel safe. The word safe was the word that was across the board. It's unbelievable. I hope and wish for all of you that you have the experience, maybe not just Casa Materna, but something that you can look to and just see what the majority of the world, we live in the minority here. This is not how most people live in the world.
Right.
To get out there and see the real world is pretty impressive.
Yes. Randy, can we bring up that slide again? I just want to make sure everyone has a chance to see it. So this is a picture of Casa Materna, just so you know.
That's the deluxe suite, and I'm not saying that
Yeah.
to be funny or goofy. That truly is, compared to what women have access to, that is, if you get that, you are living it, because that's
Wow.
where you can be with your baby. It's warm or cool, depending on what time of year it is. You have care, you have food, limited medicine, but still someone to show you what to do. And I think most importantly, someone just to tell you that you're loved and cared for and that they are there for you. Most of the people that go there don't have that.
Yes. Wow. And thank you for sharing that story. I know anyone who's been on the front lines like that, and I know you've traveled a lot, you've seen it, you know, you can't not be touched by that. It's one thing to sort of discuss it as a group and talk about it and hear sound bites and stories, but I know when you've actually visited those people and been in their company and had that experience, you're forever changed.
Bigger gift to our son
Yeah.
than anything ever that we have ever given him.
Wow.
He was a changed little boy, a very
Wow.
privileged little boy, not spoiled, I would like to think, but a new awakening as to what he can give back to the world after that
Wow.
trip. So thank you to you and
Yes.
your organization for that.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
And I know that the women in Guatemala that you had a chance to meet were so thankful. I actually heard that they didn't just love meeting Pam and her family, but they loved getting to ask her questions about her business.
Yes.
And I just couldn't believe that. It was such a cool thing. I don't know if there's any time to share that.
Do you
but
want to
the
share?
women-
Just really quickly.
What happened is that, like I said, they don't have access to Napoleon Hill and all of the great things that we just take for granted, right? They don't have Richard Brooke there to write the books and for them to see. So for Kevin and I just to share, because they asked, how do you come to Guatemala? What do you do? So we just said, we're partnered, we're network marketers, and we've partnered with this incredible group of women, and they wanted to know more. They were so inspired that women across the world cared enough about them to give money without knowing them and without knowing what was going to happen. They could not believe that. So that was they just want to know more. Like, tell me about these women who just want to help us. They felt equal. They felt on the same plane. And Kevin and I told them, you are all empowered and equals with us. You just have different gifts at a different time. And it's your responsibility to share that and show your children that you have that. And trust me, their days are tough. So for them to muster the wherewithal to be able to do that is incredible. So yeah, they were
Yes.
very curious about
Wow.
how all of this works, and just you could see the wheels turning, like what they're going to start. Who knows? The pebble that all of you have started, the ripple effect, it's going to be felt for generations. It's incredible.
Yes, thank you. Well, and let's bring up that slide too, Randy, if we could. We have a little thermometer showing our current progress. So we've just started as a group, and anyone who would love to join this movement is welcome. Just through our own efforts here in the last year, reaching out to our networks, inviting people to participate, we've raised almost $70,000, which is the equivalent of sponsoring over 1,360 women through that program in Guatemala. So we're all excited. We're trying to plan a trip and get everyone coordinated so we can go, just like Pam, to visit some of the sites that we've already sponsored and have a chance to see firsthand some of the changes that are occurring. But we know the potential is enormous. I mean, think about the number of women in this profession, in network marketing and direct sales in general. And I know some of you have companies that are already behind different charitable organizations and different philanthropic endeavors. But this is one that we really felt was kind of a profession-wide opportunity. And all of these women are from different companies. Nobody has an agenda with this other than we just want to help. And just by sharing the word and inviting people to participate, we're overwhelmed with some of the response. And I just want to come down to the edge of the couch here because we haven't talked to these three yet, but the three of you have been very instrumental as well. And Jules in particular, she's been our top fundraiser, this girl, I tell you. It's been amazing. This is the power of Jules. She raised more money as an individual in the first 3 days than I think the rest of us did all year through her contacts, doing it the most classy way possible. And I just found out you just raised some more. So would you just share briefly why you decided to get behind this, and yeah, just a little bit about what you've raised today, because it's really impressive. It's
Thanks,
awesome.
Sonia. Yeah, I mean, for so many of the reasons that we were just talking about is why I was inspired by this. I was at the lunch when we first talked about it, and you sent Half the Sky to us. And it was just so compelling to really see the juxtaposition of, what we think of as our bad days and, what these women are dealing with. And for me, I was always kind of that, heart-centered, always wanting to do more for people. And, the sort of the old adage that, money makes you more of who you already are. So my dream was, when I'm making $1 million a month, these are the things I want to do. But to be able to kind of start where you are and do so little and have that be so much, $50 does so much for these people. So, and to be able to do it with the women that I love, in other companies, and you really feel like you're a part of something. I think it was brilliant to actually start Women United for Change as a subsidy of PCI, because there's that ownership there of feeling like this is ours, and saying, oh, we've raised almost $70,000. That's so different than being like, well, PCI has raised X number of trillions, then it's harder to relate to that versus like this is our movement and this is something that we are all a part of. So I just was so excited to jump in. And the other thing that's interesting is I never realized this, but I've never had a charity that I was from the ground up with. So I've been raising, anytime anyone's ever asked me for money, I'm like, here. No, now everyone's going to write to me. Yeah. No, but, I've always been such a part of being a supporter of other people's organizations, but I've never had one that I raised my hand and said, this is something I'm passionate about. Would you be interested in taking a look? And that's what's been so significant in this process because, for the first time probably ever, I turned around to people and said, hey, I'm really passionate about entrepreneurship. I'm passionate about women. This is an amazing organization. And there's a group of us, and it was initially like 10 of us within this profession that we are passionate about doing this. Would you take a look at it? And all of a sudden, everybody's like, yeah, because I've been supporting them for 8 million years, But it was really special to, especially since asking for anything is hard and weird, but when it's not for you, it's for something else, it takes on a totally different feeling. And then when they step up, it takes on a totally different feeling of support. And the way I feel about the people that have stepped forward to donate is like nothing else, because it's not even for me, but because I asked, they wanted to be a part of that. And so just on the lunch break here today, what was my goal coming here today? I wanted to have raised $15,000 for the organization, and I was short, and just on the lunch break, I got another $3,000 donation. And I was like so excited because now I've actually, with that check and one other check that one of my friends just sent in, I will have reached $15,050 as of today. So that was so cool because my goal was $15,000. So anyway, very exciting.
Wow, thank you.
But it's so special, and what we are doing as a movement is special, and so I just hope that people kind of can sense that from everything that we're talking about and want to do even just a $50 donation makes such a difference, as I'm sure you heard today. So thanks, Sonia.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jules. You've been a powerhouse behind this. Thank you. Yeah. And Romy, you've also been instrumental. I know you put the word out to your team. You had a really great response from people getting behind this movement. Yeah, would you just share why you decided to get behind this and why you feel it's important?
Absolutely. This profession has been such an extraordinary vehicle for our family. It's been such a privilege to watch other families and people on our team and throughout our company, their lives be changed. And so I felt such a responsibility to do more for women globally. John and I have had our pet domestic charitable projects, and when I came to the point where I was ready to do something internationally, and I knew I wanted to focus on women, it was just, again, serendipitous that you all said, wait, I think we've got something. And I have to tell you that we've talked a lot today about no-brainers, right? It's a no-brainer thing. Well, when I heard this, so many things clicked, and the analogies to our profession. I saw this immediately as turnkey philanthropy, right? Because you have created such a dynamic, efficient, integrous organization. You're doing programming that is moving the needle. And for us, like our businesses, I know it would be plug and play. Now, in addition to that, our businesses grow through social commerce, right? Well, I saw this immediately as social philanthropy. And that's how I've been able to create awareness among our social media audience, our team, and it is a whole lot of people just doing a little. So I post about it on Facebook and say to anyone, it doesn't have to be anyone affiliated with our profession, but anyone, this is a passion of mine. And for just $10 a month for 5 months, you can put a woman through this entire program to empower not only herself, but her entire community and create this ripple effect. And the response was extraordinary. And not only did people come to the table, the Facebook table, on comments saying, I'm in, but then they brought people with them. And it started to grow exponentially, just like our businesses do. And it's been extraordinary.
And I so appreciate what you said. It's just a lot of people doing a little bit. What if everybody, $5, right, $10? I mean, it's like, what do we throw at a cup of coffee every day, right? It's like if everybody was just willing to do a little bit, and then the enormity of our networks are huge. So by spreading the word through Facebook or any other social media tool we have, just getting the word out, inviting people to just participate. You know, from what I've seen, those that have participated are falling in love with this process. They're excited to be part of it. And it really is the strength in numbers opportunity I think we have to truly move the needle in a very significant way. So thank you for your
And
support.
I just want to add one more thing. In listening to what these women are doing and what they face and Pam's stories, do y'all think you can work your business a little? I mean, come on, right? We got it easy.
Well, and last but not least, Amy, I'd love to have you share, because you've always been the party with the purpose girl, and you found a very elegant way, I know even before we got connected, to tie in your business with charitable opportunities. So, you know, that's not the reason you do it, but it's kind of smart for business too.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you had approached me and talked about it, I was in love. Absolutely, I'm on board. Because as all of you, you know, empowering women is what we do best. And you're going to give me such an opportunity to link up with people that are already doing it great and be able to just turnkey it and make it happen. I'm in. So the business model for the Party for a Purpose, basically, it's a win-win-win. We're out, we're connecting with women. I tell them about Women United for Change, and I raise money simply by sharing the opportunity that they can get their girlfriends together, and they all shop for a great cause. They're going to feel really good about what they're purchasing, and every time that they wear it, they can think of these women through the Women Empowered program. And it's a feel-good thing. Women want to help other women. And so many women don't know how or where, right? You don't know where to go. And so this is a way for me to share it in a way that is fun and relaxed. And then the marketing, I've been blown away by how you then reach back out through the thank you notes, the personalized notes, the Valentine's email, the love in the postcard. It's extraordinary. It really is. I'll start crying about it. It's ordinary. It really is. I'll start crying about it. We're criers, but just knowing that we're doing something that, again, to us is so little, but that means so much. And I cannot wait to go to Guatemala. And next year we're planning it, spring
doing
break,
it,
we're going. And to bring my children.
Yeah.
It's so important to me, so.
Definitely, thank you. Well, we need to wrap, but I want to thank all of you for participating in this panel, but also in this movement, and really for being the ones that caught the vision, you know, initially. And I know that this is just the beginning of what's possible. And